Today, on episode 27 of the Fit Stoic podcast, the cause of your upset. Today we're going to have a look at events and possible consequences of those events, and then how we decide what those consequences mean to us and the results of that. All right, welcome to the show. I'm Corey Samuelson. Today's topic is one of those that will really accelerate philosophical thinking in and about our own authority and choice and the difference between consequences and meaning and our experience. And you can get in some really interesting conversations with people about these topics as well. This is chapter 20 from the Gymchiridion, the cause of your upset. Begin quote. Remember that whatever is upsetting you is never the cause of your upset. It's what you have decided that it means to you. No one can insult you. They may harm your reputation, but that is not up to you. No one can steal from you. They may take your possessions, but that which can be taken from you was never truly yours. No one can harm you. They may damage your body, but they cannot harm your character, who you choose to be. In the final analysis, you cannot be harmed by anything but your own choice to accept that you have been harmed. You need to give others, or the circumstances, your permission for that. You are the authority in your life. That authority cannot be taken from you. It can only be relinquished by your leave. End quote. The big idea behind this chapter is that you choose to be upset by the things that you experience in life, by the things that happen to you. So if somebody insults you, you have to actually choose to feel insulted. You can hear their words and you can reject their take, whether they're calling you lazy or ugly or stupid or ignorant, whatever the insult happens to be. You don't have to actually accept it. You can choose to not accept it. I've used this analogy before, and it's a little disgusting, but it's almost as if somebody has made you a crap sandwich. And if that's a little too disgusting, then just think of a disgusting sandwich that you don't want to eat, like maybe anchovy sandwich with some mustard and pickles. Whatever disgusts you. They make it knowing that you don't like to eat these sandwiches. And they offer it to you, and then you eat it. You actually swallow every mouthful. Now, why would you do that if you don't like to taste that or to go through that experience? It's a choice. So you can think of insults as a crap sandwich that you don't want to eat. Well, you don't have to. You don't have to accept it. You don't need to feel upset by someone else's opinion of you. That's your choice. The next one was that no one can steal from you. Now, obviously, if you have something, a possession, like let's say you're at the gym and someone takes your gym bag, well, they have stolen from you. And quite literally, they have taken possession of something that you consider to be yours. From the Stoic mindset, we can't really own anything because anyone stronger than us, or with more ability, or with more guile, can take those things from us. So what we truly own is only our character in the end, which is why the Stoics consider that nothing can be taken from us, at least nothing of real value. Because the value that we have as human beings is not what we own, not even the body that we have. It's who we are, who we choose to be, our character. So nothing of value, of real value, as the Stoics would put it, can be taken from us. And just like the insult, we have to actually choose to feel, to experience theft of belongings or whatever is external to our character. We have to experience that. We have to choose to experience it as a loss, as a theft, as something being taken from us. And again, that takes our agreement with that experience of loss or theft. Nothing can be taken from us that we ever truly owned anyway, is another way of thinking about that. The only thing that is truly ours and that can never be taken is who we are inside, our character. So those first two are generally, people can wrap their head around those. This last one, however, from the reading, that no one can ever harm us, this takes a little bit more thought and a little bit more of, it takes a little more wrestling with the idea. How is it that we can learn to experience physical damage, that someone's actually, we'll say, punching us in the stomach? How is it that we aren't harmed? We have, again, we have such an intimate relationship with our body that when the body is damaged, we feel damaged. There is still a distinction between our character and the body that we live inside. Again, from the Stoic perspective, the body can be damaged. People can abuse the body. But that is not us. We will experience the physical pain, but that doesn't need to turn into psychological suffering, if we put it that way. The harm to the body does not equal and does not need to mean harm to the character, to who it is that we actually are. The physical pain that we feel does not need to turn into emotional suffering. The big idea behind today's chapter and behind this episode is that there may be consequences to being insulted, to having things, possessions taken from us, or that our body may be damaged. But the big lesson is that we do not need to feel or to experience that negatively. That's up to us. If we don't choose to feel harmed, then, as Marcus Aurelius put it in his what they call the meditations, choose not to feel harmed, and you haven't been harmed. How does this apply to our health and our fitness and our exercise routines? A really good example is when we injure ourselves, when we make a poor choice, or just the body just does what it does. Let's say that we pull a hamstring. Now, there are consequences to having a hamstring injury. One is it's going to hurt when you try to use your hamstring, or when you actually use your hamstring. So the consequence of that is you probably won't do certain movements. Some movements have to be stopped. Some exercises will have to be adapted. and some type of physiotherapy or rehab program will be put in place, or merely just resting. So those are the consequences, but you get to choose what those consequences mean to you. Now, some people will take that as, I'm a failure. I shouldn't have tore my hamstring, or I shouldn't have hurt myself. I should have known better, and they start to beat themselves up. Giving those circumstances and those events, those meanings, is a choice. And this goes not just on the what we would not prefer to happen, but also on the what we prefer to happen. So when things are going well and the body is developing, for example, let's say there's a competitive physique athlete and they are winning many shows and they're getting better and they're getting adulation and they're getting endorsements and they're starting to make money from developing their body. If they start to take that to mean that they are better than other people, and they start to perhaps look down on others, and that will then start to affect how they interact, and they may be a little bit rude, and you can just play with that idea, right? But that isn't necessarily what winning a physique contest and earning endorsements and starting to make money, that's not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are better. It may mean that they are physically superior, but as a person, they aren't better. They're just making choices which are resulting in consequences that wins them adulation and endorsements and etc., right? Whatever happens, we choose to imagine that those happenings, those events, mean things. And we are free to choose that they mean whatever we want them to mean. You can imagine whatever you like. The big takeaway here is you are the authority in your own life. Who you are, who you decide to be, your character, that is up to you. To feel harm, to experience something as harm, requires your permission. No one can take that from you and insist, or basically no one can take your authority from you. You have to actually choose to give it up. You have to volunteer to feel harmed. And easier said than done to keep that distinction. When somebody says something that generally you believe yourself, I do think I'm lazy. So if somebody calls me lazy, then I take that as, oh no, they see it too. And that cuts. But I have to actually volunteer to agree with it. And if I don't volunteer, or if I don't choose to accept the insult, then like water off a duck's back, I haven't been harmed. I don't feel it. I don't experience it as an insult. When somebody takes my gym bag without my permission, they steal it, I don't need to experience that as harmful to me. I don't need to start to, throw my fists in the air and just like, why are you doing this to me? Like, now I won't be able to X, Y, and Z. Possibly my finances may not allow me to buy a new gym bag, we'll say. But again, those are the consequences. If I just accept the new set of circumstances that I live with, my life minus a gym bag and minus the finances to get a new gym bag, then I can just roll with, as they say, roll with the punches and carry on. And I don't need to feel like I've been abused by somebody's theft of my stuff. And the last one, the actual damage to my body, whether it's just through the body doing what it does as I'm working out, or somebody actually hitting me or physically hurting me. Again, for me to take that and to turn it into woe is me, that takes my permission. It takes my cooperation. I need to actually choose to, again, feel harmed. So, pulled hamstring, for example, with a Stoic mindset, that doesn't need to mean that I get deflated and I stop working out altogether. It's a consequence of life, but it doesn't have to mean something that I don't want it to mean. Moving forward, be clear in your mind the difference between consequences and the meaning that you choose to give those consequences. So a strained hamstring need not necessarily mean, bad things. Remember, it's our character and our choices only that, if you're thinking like a Stoic, can be good or bad. The external experiences, the external consequences of life cannot be good or bad. That is up to us. We can take whatever the world gives us, whatever the material we have at hand, whether it's a physique that's in top-notch health or one that has a strained hamstring, and we can create good with that material. That's up to us. So keep those separated. The consequences and the events, which we can look at fairly objectively, and then what we choose to have those consequences and events mean. And then behind all this, obviously, is who we see ourselves as being. Are we this body, or are we something that cannot be harmed? And that being our faculty of choice, and who we see ourselves as being, the character that we build through our experiences. That is the choice that we have, and that is a choice that cannot be taken. That is only something that we can volunteer to give up. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode of the Fit Stoic podcast, please do share it with someone that you believe might like it too. This is Corey. Whatever your situation, operate with excellence.